Well, welcome. This is Suzanne Hannafin with Acumen Executive Search, and I am so happy to have Lyndsay Kooistra from LaPorte Insurance with us today for Profiles in Leadership. And LaPorte and Lyndsay have grown tremendously, both professionally and personally. And so I'm really excited to hear about your journey. And how did you get to where you are today, Lyndsay?
Well, that's a fun story. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on your podcast today, Suzanne. My 11-year-old son thinks it's really cool that I'm on a podcast. I'll go back a little bit in time. I grew up in Iowa and went to school in Iowa, met my husband in college. I spent a summer in Washington, D.C., a semester in London, and came back to Iowa and was like, ooh, I need something different. I want to, go out and figure out my own path in life. And luckily my boyfriend and now husband had gotten into a bunch of different graduate schools and got into Lewis and Clark out here in Portland. And so we both decided, never visiting Portland, yeah, let's go there. I said, the weather is similar to London. I like that. Let's do it. We came out here. He started out in graduate school. I interviewed for a job with Allied Insurance in Des Moines. And I said, I want to live in Portland. They said, okay, great. You can be a claims adjuster. And I said, awesome. That sounds fantastic. I had no idea what I was signing up for. But I started out as a claims adjuster in 2002. And I joke that I did my time in claims like a prison sentence because it was a fantastic way to learn insurance, but it is very much a thankless job. So I really try to always be very, very kind to claims adjusters whenever I need to talk to one. But anyways, back in 2004, the director of sales approached me about becoming a sales manager for Allied. I was 24 years old, and I still don't know what he was thinking, but I interviewed, I took the job, and my first sales appointment that I went into, I didn't even bring a pen and paper. I was really learning on the job. So I worked there until 2007 and went to CNA and worked at CNA for 7 years. Went to AmTrust for just over a year. And at some point during my time at AmTrust, I was getting a little burnt out on travel. I was traveling 2 to 3 weeks a month. I had been traveling for about 10 years and really working all over Oregon and then with AmTrust about 6 states. So my son was 18 months old and I decided to see if I could become an insurance agent and be able to spend more time with my family. And one of my friends that I had made in the insurance career was Adam Harris at LaPorte. We actually met in 2004. And when he came to LaPorte, I was going to CNA and we worked really well together, me on the carrier side and him on the agency side. And so he had mentioned to me at one point in time, hey, I would really love for you to think about LaPorte if you ever want to come to the agency side. So I was in some continuing education and I still have this paper back in my home office. And I just kind of minded this thing where I was making notes everywhere. And here's what's important to me. And here's what I really would want to do if I went to the agency side. And then I wrote down some agencies that I was had always been impressed with over the years. And obviously, LaPorte was on that list. And so I called Adam, we sat down, and I said, I think I'm ready to become an agent. And so we figured it out. And so I became an insurance agent at LaPorte back in 2015. So this October will be 10 years. And, quickly, just I'm a big learn by fire type of person. So I jumped in, I started writing policies. I had all this insurance experience and knowledge and education. So the biggest thing for me was just being able to talk to clients because I joke with them, I speak insurance and not English. So just trying to develop better English skills instead of insurance skills. But yeah, I just jumped in and I had made it known that I really wanted to become an owner, and they said, "Great, just keep doing the right thing and it'll happen for you." So when I was pregnant with my daughter, and I joke that I felt like I was 100 months pregnant with her, they offered me partnership and to buy into the agency. So that was amazing. And she was born in December of 2018, and I became a partner in 19, and have been working my way into different management roles and leadership roles. And so today, myself and three of my partners are kind of our leadership team moving forward. And there you go. Is that a good, is that a good explanation? How
I
I got
love
here?
it because yeah, it's interesting, Lindsay, and I've got a couple of comments. One is I think you're the only person I've ever talked to who said, I love the Portland weather. Number one.
Well, right now it's
Number
kind of
two,
wearing on me, I'll be honest.
I know. You're like, oh, it's just like London. I love it. And
Yeah.
what? Really? No, amazing. But the it's interesting how your life has kind of been a straight line. Like you've stayed in insurance industry your whole career, again, claims adjusting to as a carrier and now as an agent. But there's these formative things and experiences, whether it's with a mentor or something happens to where people tend to take a step back. And similarly to you, mine is all around my kids. That you kind of go, okay, I'm gonna have a kid, things need a change. Okay, here's another kid. Now I'm doing this. So, kind of dive more into these formative experiences that really shaped who you are.
I I learn um I learn by failure. I learn by experience. And I really, um, you mentioned mentorship and so forth. I've worked for different leaders in the past that have I've wanted to emulate, or I've wanted I've liked what they have done and wanted to tweak it a little bit or do something differently. But yeah, every experience I've had has led me to where I am today, and I still have a lot of growth and experience ahead of me. um I'm trying to think of a better way to answer that for you. I gave you a good
Yeah.
pause.
Yeah, no, I think that was great because again, sometimes we go down these paths and life takes us. And it's always interesting to look back and go, wow, this really again impacted and helped me shape these decisions. You also talked about you wrote down these values, what was important to you in switching. What are some of those values that you hold dear? And more importantly, as a partnership with four partners at LaPorte, how do you operationalize those values into everyday work?
Yeah, I'll answer that in a couple different ways. Um, so like one of my North Star is simple. It's do the right thing. And it's do the right thing by clients, do the right thing by employees, do the right thing by my agency. And what I really value about my partners is they have that same North Star, and it will be in meetings together, and we're just, trying to discuss or problem solve something. And it comes back to that. Okay, well, what's the right thing, and how do we move that forward? So that is an important value to me. Um, what was the other part of your question? Sorry, I should be writing down your.
Oh, no, that's okay. No, no, no. How do you operationalize that? So you've talked about that it's in the conversation and in the decision-making process
Mhm.
is how, you take doing the right thing in everyday's world. So I know that LaPorte has been growing tremendously. And as we all know, it's either growth by, organic growth or inorganic growth. And
Yeah.
you've done quite a bit of acquisition, you know, growing up in the M&A world on the finance side, the due diligence is the easy part. It's the integration that is such a hard part. So how do you take these values, assess a company that there's alignment, and how do you bring them together?
Yeah, so 2024 was a very busy year. This was the year that Dan, Adam, Taryn, and myself really became the core leadership group. We had an amazing organic growth year. We surpassed our goal, which was amazing. But then we also made three acquisitions between November 1st and January 1st of 2025. And this was the first time really we had made acquisitions as a team, and um, it's it's a lot, but it's exciting because we have a different value proposition than maybe some other agencies out there, and we really we look for agencies that care about their employees and they care about their clients, and they want to care for those two groups after the sale of their agency. And so, and our goal is to really help keep their brand and their identity in their community marketplace, and just foster growth and foster. We look for their culture too, and like making sure it's a good alignment for ours. Um, and it's the integration piece. There's different parts of it, right? So I wear a bunch of different hats at LaPorte, and one of them is managing our carrier relationships. And so I have to communicate to all of their carriers and our carriers saying, hey, we've brought on such and such agency. We're really excited about this partnership, and here's what I need you to do. And the amount of emails that I've had to send and receive, and all and additional paperwork. Luckily, we've got an amazing team that helps get us through all of that. But just in these three acquisitions, I've learned so much from the first one to the third one on what to do and definitely what not to do. So it's now we're at a point where it's getting the people integrated, and Dan, who's our president and CEO, had the great idea of having an all agency summit. And so we did that on President's Day. And it was just so fun to get everybody together so that they could all meet from all over the state of Oregon, and, talk about our mission and our values and our goals for the future. And it was a really good and great event, great team building, and just talking about what the future holds, and how we can all work together moving forward. So
No, that's amazing. So what are some of those learnings you talked about? What to do, what not to do, just high level. What?
um there's a process with when an agency is acquired in which their license needs to be surrendered and becomes part of LaPorte's, and the Oregon Business Registry needs to be updated, and the carriers, some will look at this entity called LexisNexis. There's a lot of the timing of things, and if you do something out of step, it can cause issues. So one of our acquisitions lost access to one of their carrier websites for a week, and because of the timing of some things and the timing of some other things that were outside of our control, and working through that problem solving, figuring out how to keep things moving along when there's a halt is problem solving is 90% of my job. So
And timing, and we say this in our business all the time, timing is everything.
it's
And
everything. Yeah.
you are so
So
regulated. I can't even imagine. It's boom, boom, the
yeah,
timing of everything is
yeah.
so critical.
So
Absolutely.
I've kind of created policies and procedures of the timing of things, and I'm big into policies and procedures. I love it. I love creating that kind of template, and organizing them in OneNote, but then also being open to changing them, right? Because what works today may not work tomorrow, and there's probably still some tweaks that I need to make to that, learning more throughout this process. So yeah, a lot of what I do is trying to build that out, but then I have to be open to changing it because yeah, we learn things along the way, right? And that's part of the gig.
Yeah. It's part of business ownership, isn't it? For sure. So as we're talking about learnings, here we are, in our career, we're established. Looking back, Lyndsay, what advice would you give your 20-year-old self?
Well, it's a little bit of what I talked about of finding those leaders that you really respect, but finding them maybe a little bit earlier on and just trying to learn as much as possible and listen to them, maybe do more listening than talking, right? um that's a big help. But I want a couple of things that I wish I would have done earlier on is just find my voice. I've always been an advocate for myself, and I feel like if nobody else is going to advocate for me, I've got to do it, right? But yeah, just finding my voice a little bit earlier on. um and then and being my authentic self, which may be a good thing or not, I don't know. But the other piece too is just making sure I don't lose sight of the other things that I love so much in life, making sure that I find good quality time with my kids and my family, and doing all the things that I love to do, going to museums and reading all the plaques, and doing photography and reading books and traveling and all that kind of stuff. So I'm not very good at a work-life balance. And I
I
would
think that's
tell
a
my 20-year-old self to get better.
Yeah, I think that's a lesson a lot of us can learn because again, I had a girlfriend who said it's not work-life balance. I'm trying to remember how she put it, but it was beautiful. It's like you work when you can work, and then it's kind of about being present of
Yes.
this is the time that I'm here with my children or my husband or my girlfriends or my, whatever.
Yeah.
And but that is a hard lesson for
Yeah. I
sure.
joke, I joke it's quality, not quantity. So when I'm with my kids, I try to put the phone away and not look at it. I have a setting on my phone when somebody's calling, I can click it that says kiddo time, call you later. Like it's it's really important to me to try to have that quality because the quantity isn't there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, you know that this podcast is about leadership and learnings and what we can share. So we always like to ask about hiring for good. What does hiring for good mean to you?
Well, I love that question, Suzanne, and I typed it out because I didn't want to fumble through it. So I'm going to read you my answer.
Okay.
But I said hiring for good means building a team that not only excels in skill, but also aligns with our values of integrity, service, and accountability. It's about bringing in people who are not just here for a job, but are committed to making a meaningful impact on our clients, our industry, and on each other. For me, that means looking beyond resumes and identifying individuals who take ownership, solve problems, proactively and genuinely care about delivering exceptional service. It's about fostering a culture where people feel supported, challenged, and empowered to grow. Beyond our own organization, hiring for good also means contributing to the industry by creating opportunities for diverse talent, mentoring the next generation, and ensuring that the work we do has a lasting positive impact on the community we serve.
Wow, if I wrote that out, I would have read it too. I think you've said it better than I could have ever said. Because
I
again,
doubt
it's
that,
kind of,
Suzanne.
well, but it's bigger than us. And I
Mhm.
think that's, to me, hiring for good is bigger than just me. It's
Yep,
employees, it's clients, it's community, it's where we live. It's, again, bigger than
yep.
just one person. No, I love it. So tell me a little bit, Lyndsay, and I'm going to go backwards about the values and the clients. Who are your ideal clients, and why? You talked about value proposition. Why should they call you?
I love problem solving and I love complex insurance needs. Um, a lot of my clients, starting at the beginning, I'm like, document dump on me, send me your policies, let me go through them, let me organize them. I love OneNote. I also love spreadsheets. So I'll spreadsheet everything. And then I'm a very detail oriented person, which is not common in the sales world, but I am very detail oriented. So I want to dive into those policies, learn the goods, the maybe not so goods, maybe the gaps of coverage. And then it's really it, education is really important to me. um, it's always been a foundation of my career and it's a foundation of how I work with clients. So the better educated I am, the better I can help them, and the better I educate clients, the better they understand the insurance policies that are there to protect them. So ideal clients for me are really those that appreciate detail and want detail and want to get into the weeds of things and will enjoy having fun with me. I think insurance is fun and I do try to make it fun. Obviously, there are times where things are scary or worrisome or concerning, and that's also part of what I'm here for, and making sure that if the worst thing happens and someone has a claim, then I'm here to advocate for them and bring in the right team to support them. So it sounds kind of like a weird way to answer that question, but I work a lot in the construction industry, the developers, building owners, manufacturing. But yeah, it's those complex insurance needs is where I really enjoy life.
Yes. And so the second shock, I don't think anybody has ever said insurance is fun.
I know I'm not the first, but I can't think of anybody else. I
I
took a
know it.
I took a personality test back when I worked at Amtrust, and I think it was Amtrust that I was at. Maybe it was Allied or CNA, but it was one of those things where what's your sales acumen, right? And what drives you? And the question the answer was, if Lindsay's not having fun, she's moving on, and it's true. I have to have fun with what I'm doing because we work so hard. I don't want to add up how many hours a week I work, but I'm thinking it's north of 60. And why would I work 60 hours a week if I wasn't having fun?
I love it. I love it. Another great learning for us. So, Lyndsay, this is we've paused the video, but I really think what we were talking about is good information for business owners and how we need to be looking at insurance. So let's take Acumen.
Yep.
Acumen, we're a professional services organization. So errors and omission, our professional liability, we have all of that, but we also own a building. So walk me through what I need to be looking at. and looking
Yeah.
for?
Yeah, so one, I would love to spreadsheet things for you, Suzanne, but you own your building, right? So making sure your building limit, your business personal property, and your business income meet your needs. So I'll talk to clients about, worst case scenario, you have a fire. Do you have enough coverage to rebuild your building, to replace all your business personal property? Do you have enough business income coverage? There's different ways to do that that will make sure that one, you could pay your payroll from that, replace your income that you're missing out on because your building is gone. And then also with your professional liability E&O policy, looking at the definition of professional services and the broader the better, in my opinion, on that. And then looking at the exclusions, because there are probably other policies that are out there that could fill the gaps on those exclusions. And that could be cyber insurance that protects you from a data breach, ransomware, that sort of thing. It could be a management liability policy that covers you for your directors and officers' employment practices liability, crime, and fiduciary liability. Um, I do know those are excluded on a professional liability policy, so that's why I bring them up. But yeah, so it's important to kind of go through the details of things and make sure that if there is a gap or an exclusion, do I want to self-insure this, or do I want to find a separate insurance policy to cover it?
Yeah, because again, we can just take that building.
Mhm.
You know, most people, I think like me as a business owner. You go, oh, I've got insurance. If it burns down, it's covered. But I never thought about wages lost. This other whole piece that again makes me think that you and I do need to sit down and you can do an audit of my insurance. But what other things as a business owner do you think they need to look at to be protected?
Yeah, well, we talked about the property. So sometimes the property is part of a package policy, which would include general liability. You've got auto liability. And if your business doesn't own business vehicles, then there's a coverage called hired and non-owned auto liability. So that gives you coverage for renting vehicles, which is the hired, and then the non-owned, which is you're using your vehicle on personal use, or excuse me, not for personal use, for business use, and you get in an accident, you cause an accident, you're at fault, right? Your personal insurance is always going to be primary. But if they find out, the claimant or a claimant's attorney finds out you own Acumen or you work for Acumen, they may name Acumen in the lawsuit. And that's what that non-owned liability is there for. It protects the business, not the driver, if that makes sense. And then there is umbrella policy, and this policy can go above and beyond your general liability, your auto liability, your employer's liability, which is part of your workers' comp policy, and the employee benefits liability. And I was like, I know I'm forgetting something. So having employee benefits liability if you offer medical group health insurance to your employees, that's what that employee benefits liability is for. So that's just to name a few. Every company is different. Manufacturing clients are going to be looking at an ocean cargo, stock throughput, inland marine type policy quite frequently, potentially product recall as well. Construction clients are going to be looking at pollution coverage, professional errors and emission type policies. Everybody is can should look at a management liability policy to help protect your directors and officers, employment practices, fiduciary, and crime. So, and cyber losses keep happening. We see them,
Yeah.
unfortunately, quite frequently, either with social engineering or ransomware. Those are the most common. And they're the you've got to do the research, or your agent has to do the research to find the right policy to protect you.
Yeah, and we both know Nick, who is the owner of Heroic
Yes.
Technology cyber Solutions. And Nick always says, you're not too small to be attacked. You're too small to be on the news. And that always just, clicks into my head. And I think it's surprising how common it's becoming.
It is. I think COVID made it worse because the bad guys sat at home trying to figure out more ways to hack and more ways to wreak havoc. I always love when Nick talks about the different things that have happened, and in my mind, I'm always saying, insurance can cover that. Insurance can cover that. Make sure you buy good insurance. So because it happens unfortunately a lot. And a good cyber policy is going to have that protection for ransomware. It'll have a social engineering sublimit. It'll have PR expense. It'll have business income replacement. So and more that I'm not mentioning.
Yeah. So again, what a good reminder to at least pull everything out and have an audit done and find those gaps and to really look at it as a risk. Is this
Mhm.
worth risk or not? So once again, Lyndsay, I have to say thank you for some educating me on some educating.
No, I
Yeah.
love
Well,
education.
for English. Yeah, thank you for educating me on really things to think about and be aware because insurance, we said it's the devil is in the details and it's kind of CYA, right? That's what insurance is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And many more things. And fun.
Uh, yes, and to have fun. So not to get, yeah. So thank you once again, Lyndsay. And again, even just for an audit, contact Lyndsay. Thank you.
Thank you.